Hello, I am Parthabatim Chakraborty from Department of Geology, University of Delhi. Today in this module we will be discussing about the diagenesis of carbonate rocks. Through this module you will be able to know that what are the different domains of diagenesis through which a carbonate rock passes after its deposition. You will be able to understand the processes what controls the diagenesis in a carbonate and how carbonates responds to that different kind of processes that is available in the different diagenetic domain. You will also be able to understand that what is the product of that diagenesis and how we understand those products of diagenesis when we see the carbonate rocks through different kind of investigation processes and then track back the diagenetic domain of the carbonates that through which process it has passed through since its deposition. Let us go ahead with the further discussion of the diagenesis. Overall, the diagenetic domain, they are classified into different domains such as seafloor diagenesis, meteoric diagenesis and deep burial diagenesis. Now, what is seafloor diagenesis? That is the diagenesis or the changes that the carbonate undergo as get deposited within the seafloor. And then meteoric diagenesis is that changes that occur in the carbonate when it come in the contact of the fresh water, and deep burial diagenesis happens when the carbonates got into burial and that changes under the pressure and temperature that causes the changes which we call the deep burial diagenesis. Now, this entire discussion of diagenesis, that is seafloor, meteoric, deep burial, we will cover this entire discussion into two different modules because it is a long discussion. So, in this module we will be essentially limited our discussion within the seafloor diagenesis. What we will be discussing that the changes that the carbonates suffer because of after its deposition because of the different biological action and the kind of saturation level of the ambient water. Now, coming on to the meteoric coming on to the seafloor diagenesis in detail, what we can discuss that how the carbonate minerals and the texture and all these that affect the kind of carbonate dissolution and precipitation. Now, the two major process that is most dominant in the seafloor diagenesis, as we will be discussing in our further course of discussion, that is the micritization and hard ground formation. Before we go into the micritization and the hard ground formation, let us first discuss that how the different kind of carbonate minerals, as we have discussed in our earlier module, that there is different carbonates which are aragonite, which are calcite, which are high magnesium calcite, the low magnesium calcite, how these different kind of carbonate minerals that show its saturation level with respect to the depth of the ocean. Now, as we know that the shallow ocean, that is most saturated part of the ocean, where all the carbonate minerals, whether it is the calcite or the aragonite, all remain in their equilibrium because it is a super saturation level. So, all the carbonate minerals, they are stable in that level. But as the depth increases, the two major changes happen in the ocean water. Number one, the temperature decreases. If we see the temperature profile of the ocean, then we will see that the surface water that has a temperature level at about 28 to 30 degrees centigrade, but it very quickly comes down to the very low level which we call the thermocline and then goes to the very low level that is less than 5 degree up to the deep part of the ocean. Now, this decrease in temperature definitely has an effect on the stability of the carbonate minerals. Along with that, the other changes that happen, that as we go deeper and deeper part of the ocean, because of the higher depth of the ocean water, the pressure increases. So, both the decrease in temperature and the increase in pressure, that will basically encourage the carbonate dissolution process. And in the whole process, that is the more and more carbonate got unstable in the ocean water, we get the different carbonate minerals, they will respond differently in this the more non-equilibrium condition of the ocean water. Aragonite being the most unstable mineral that changes more easily and they go into dissolution more quickly. These changes of the aragonite mineral, that from its initial high saturation to the low saturation, that what the changes of the this happens between 1 to 1.5 kilometer depth. This is what we call the aragonite lysocline. the aragonite at about 2 to 2.5 kilometer depth, the total aragonite get absent because the total instability of the aragonite mineral at that kind of water depth. Now, that level where the total aragonite get unstable and we do not get the aragonite, that what we call the aragonite compensation depth, what we call the ACD. See, like that the calcite also behaves, but the whole behavior of the calcite is little delayed. That means the calcite lysocline that develops at a much deeper depth at about 2 kilometer, and the calcite compensation depth, what we also refer to as the carbonate compensation depth, that happens at about 3.5 kilometer depth. So, all these changes that causes that the carbonates that in the ocean profile, they are not same, because the shallow water, that is the extreme shallow water where you get both calcite and aragonite are stable. So, all the carbonate products that will be both aragonite and calcite, but after that what we get that the aragonites are unstable, but calcite are stable. Then slowly the calcite also become unstable, and there is a time that comes the compensation depth below, who is neither calcite nor aragonite, nothing is stable. So, when a shelf that is cut by the different bathymetric zone of the ocean, then we can get that the shelf is totally distributed in the relative stability of different carbonate minerals, and accordingly we get that the shallow part of the shelf where the both aragonite and calcite bearing carbonate, that is stable, but with respect to the increasing depth that the calcite and the aragonite, they have a preferential distribution in this. This entire thing can be projected in terms of the latitude of the earth also, that if we project this entire distribution of the carbonate minerals in terms of the latitude, then we can see that the equatorial position, that is the 30 degree north to 30 degree south, this is the most favorable zone for the carbonate precipitation, and that what we call the zone of active carbonate precipitation. Beyond that, what we get that there is a successive decrease in the carbonate stability, and that is why that you get the zone, that is the zone of active precipitation, zone of partial dissolution, zone of active dissolution, and zone of no carbonate. All these zones what we get in terms of the depth of the ocean, that we can also get in terms of the different latitudinal position of the earth on the surface of the earth. Though zone 1, that is the active precipitation, that we get from 30 degree north to 30 degree south. The zone 2 and 3, that only is comes in the basically the temperate and the polar zone. Zone 4 never occurs on the surface of the earth, that we can only get the zone 4 in the deeper part of the ocean. So, as we have discussed that the carbonate minerals, depending on the bathymetry of the ocean, there is a different stability of the different kind of carbonate minerals. So, accordingly the organisms which make their shell by means of different carbonate minerals, they are also distributed preferentially at different depth of the ocean. The organisms with calcitic shell, organisms with aragonitic shell, or organism with a mixture of calcite and aragonite, that they get segregated in the ocean in terms of the relative stability of the different minerals, as the ocean water that allows the stability of the different carbonate minerals in different parts of its bathymetry. Now, once these carbonates they get precipitated, then they immediately these carbonates come into the action of different kind of organisms, particularly the microbes, the endolithic algae. The microbes and endolithic algae, they start boring and they form the small pores and the small bores on the surface of the carbonate. Now, if we have a large scale the carbonate deposition, that is a slow sedimentation, we consider that the carbonate where it is getting deposited, there is a slow sedimentation rate, that means the sedimentation rate is not very high. Then any carbonate grain what will be deposited at any particular point, it will remain on the seafloor for a reasonable period of time, and a continuous action of microbes and endolithic algae, that will form a large scale pores on the surface of the carbonate. This process what is we call, that is what we call the micritization. That means that there will be the small pores that will be formed, and these pores will be further filled by the precipitation from the water column. So, any carbonate, whether it is a calcitic carbonate or it is a aragonitic carbonate, because organisms after their death they get settled on the floor of the ocean, and they, depending on their original mineralogy of their shell, there will be different kind of carbonates, that is the calcitic or the aragonitic. Now, once these organisms, whatever be the mineralogy of it, these microlithic microbes and the endolithic algae, and when they bore into this, that small boats get filled by the precipitation from the water column. So, we will get these different kind of shells. They will be basically mantled by the very fine grain carbonate coating, what we call the micrite layer. If this micritization is a very advanced process, then the entire grain will become a fine grain carbonate, that what is called the micrite. So, friends, as I have discussed about the micritization, that what really micritization I tried to tell to you, that it is basically the stabilization of the carbonate grain in terms of its mineralogy, and also it becomes a fine grained coating on any of the carbonate grain. Now, think of a aragonite bioclast, and its surface it becomes the fine grained and the micritic calcite. So, what will happen, that on the surface the aragonite clast that will become stable, because it became calcitic and fine grained, and then when it will go to the further action of diagenesis, suppose the meteoric or the deep burial diagenesis, because its surface has already become micritic. So, that will not go further into dissolution in the other courses of the diagenesis, but the internally it may go into dissolution, because internally still the aragonetic mineralogy is there. So, what will happen, that the further course of diagenesis it may dissolve the internal part, but the outer shape of the bioclast that remains, because it has already been stabilized in the sea floor micritization process, and that help us in identifying that whether there was a micritization process that was operative and that caused the stabilization of the carbonate grain. The other major process in the seafloor diagenesis that I want to discuss with you is the hard ground formation. Now, what is a hard ground? Hard ground is basically the early diagenesis cementation process. Now, what I want to mean by early diagenesis cementation, that the carbonates they become cemented and hardened as when it was on the sea floor before it goes to the further course of diagenesis. That is what I talk about the early diagenesis cementation or the hard ground, and it always formed when the carbonate platform that is a very low sedimentation rate. So, if the sedimentation rate is low, then the carbonates on the sea floor that will remain in equilibrium with the ocean water for a long period of time, because it is not getting buried by further sedimentation process. And if these carbonate grains and its entrapped pore water, it remains for a long period of time in equilibrium with the ocean water, then the pore water equilibrates with the ocean water, and that causes the precipitation of the cement or the precipitation of the carbonates at the pore spaces between the bioclast or between the allochems. This process of cementation right at the sea floor after its deposition, that we talk about at the early diagenetic cementation that I wanted to tell to you. So, a hard ground is essentially a early cementation process which happens because of the low sedimentation rate and the equilibration of the pore water with the ocean water. Now, how we identify that this is a product? What are the geometries of the seafloor cement? The cement that is formed between the pore spaces and that cause the carbonate hardened at its early stage. So, what is the geometry? It can have the different kind of geometry. It can have a rind shape, it can have a mesh shape, it can be botryoidal. So, all these different geometries that basically talk about that the carbonates were hardened right at the seafloor after its deposition. So, carbonates, as I have discussed the two process which is very important in the seafloor diagenesis, that is micritization and hard ground formation. These two different process that completely change the scenario of the carbonates once they get deposited and they get changed into these two different process. A micritization essentially makes the stabilization of the carbonate grain on its surface, whereas a hard ground formation that basically cause the carbonate to be hardened and carbonate to be lithified right at the sea floor, and that basically causes the different kind of behavior of that carbonate when it goes to the burial. This now the question arises that what are the signatures that basically allow us to identify this hard ground in the rock record. Now, as the name implies hard, so it is a hard, but Now, if I go to a rock succession, suppose I am seeing a Mesozoic carbonate, I am seeing a Paleozoic carbonate, everything is hard there. Now, within that hard carbonate, which portion became hardened right at its time of deposition in the early diagenesis? How we identify, what are the signatures that allow us to identify that these are the portions that basically was hardened at its early stage of deposition or the early diagenesis? There are certain signatures which allow them to identify. Now, what are those signatures of the hard ground identification? Number one, that there should be the gluconitization. So, as I have already told that the hard ground, where we get the hard ground? Where the sedimentation rate is very low. And if the sedimentation rate is very low, it will be encouraging the different kind of chemical sedimentation process. And we get the other kind of chemical sedimentation process such as gluconite formation, the pyritization, all these are associated with a hard ground. We also get the presence of borings instead of burrowing in in a hard ground, and also sometimes we get that the presence of brecciation. Now, brecciation is a typical signature that it was hardened before it got the fragmented. So, all these signatures, that the presence of gluconite, presence of pyrite, the presence of borings instead of burrowing, and the brecciation, all these signatures indicate that these are the levels in a old rock sequence where the diagenesis and the hardening that happened prior to it goes to the burial diagenesis, and that we call it the hard ground formation or the early diagenetic product. So, friends, if we summarize our entire discussion, then what we get? The carbonates, they are born in ocean water, and whenever they get born even within the ocean, that they come under the influence of different kind of agencies. In the ocean water, in the ocean floor diagenesis or the sea floor diagenesis, what we see that the carbonates, it get under the influence of different kinds of microbes and the endolithic algae. And what these microbes and endolithic algae do? They basically bore into the carbonate grain, and that form the kind of fine grained stabilized mineral coating in the grain that we call the micrite, and which basically stabilizes the carbonate grain when it goes to the further action of the diagenesis. The other process what I have discussed, that is the hard ground formation. Now, what is a hard ground formation? The hard ground formation is basically a character of a carbonate platform with a very low sedimentation rate, where you get the early diagenetic cementation of the carbonate, and that causes the carbonate to be lithified at its early diagenetic stage, and that further controls when it goes to the further diagenetic process in the successive stage of burial history. So, these two processes are the major process which we can identify, and their characteristic cement geometry help us in identifying that whether those processes were operative or not, and that has a huge influence. We will be discussing in the other module that what influence it has when the carbonates go into the further stages of the diagenesis, these two different processes. Now, we also have discussed that how the ocean water that is being classified in terms of the relative saturation of the different carbonate minerals. We have discussed that there is the areas in the ocean which is the zone of active precipitation, there is zone of partial dissolution, zone of active dissolution, and there is zone of no carbonate. And in the whole process, each carbonate mineral that has its own areas of stability, it has an active zone of dissolution, what we call the lysocline of that mineral, and when that there is total absence of that mineral after certain depth, then we call the compensation depth of the mineral. Normally, the calcite compensation depth we consider it as a carbonate compensation depth. So, this process that where the carbonate will be stable both in terms of the latitude as well as the depth of the ocean, all these things that basically come into the control of the seafloor diagenesis, what we wanted to discuss today in this module. I hope all of you have enjoyed this discussion of the seafloor diagenesis, and also you realize the importance of the seafloor diagenesis in the entire carbonate diagenetic pathway. So, with this I end this module. Thank you.